Hello, I'm Scott Mason. I'm president of the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship in Athens, Georgia. Welcome. As you can see, there's a big 4th of July parade going on behind me because this weekend is 4th of July. Unfortunately, this year, there will be no parades. There will be no big gatherings at fireworks. There'll be no big gatherings in parks, games, that sort of thing, because of COVID-19, and that's a shame. The parade that you see going on behind me was actually a few years ago in Bend, Oregon, where every summer in the 4th of July weekend, they have a pet parade. There is a pet. You can see the dog behind me there. All right. So there were a lot of dogs actually in these parades, enough to fill a very large parking lot with small, medium, and large dogs, cows, horses, bunny rabbits, chickens, and various other and sundry. There were no cats because it was judged to be too psychologically hard on cats. So I hope someday that we'll get back to 4th of July parades, and it won't be too long before we do that. I also hope that without too much going on between now and then, that we can get back in our building. And along those lines, there is a opening task force to see what we can do to phase the opening of the building. That task force consists of the staff, Lee Cornell, because he handles our technology, Barb Shell as the past president, and me as the current president. We've been meeting and will continue to meet to try to figure out how we can open the building safely, how we can use areas of the building like the patio, parking lot, lawns safely. It is not as simple as one might think by any way, shape, or form. But we are working on it, and I want you to know that. Then, along those lines, I wanted to mention that we do have a theme for this year. And the theme has been, Let It Be a Dance. We developed that theme at a January retreat of the board and other leaders in the church. And we thought it was an important way to express how we wanted this year to go. We wanted to dance through this year. We wanted to enjoy it. We wanted to move gracefully through it. We were going to call an interim minister, and we have done that in the Reverend Lisa Schwartz. We wanted to begin the process of calling a settled minister, and we haven't gotten to that step yet. That comes later this year. I want to tell you what the differences basically are between the two groups that will be working on our ministerial support. The committee that will call the settled minister is responsible to the congregation, and therefore it is elected by the congregation. Its work includes all of the functions of defining what we want, finding candidates, telling the candidates who we are and what we are and how we will work with them, screening candidates, interviewing candidates, winnowing candidates. You got it, all those functions. But basically their function is to concentrate on the settled minister and that entire process. The transition team is responsible to the Board of Trustees and appointed by them, and works with Reverend Schwartz to help her move through the congregation and get us ready for a settled minister. This process was defined for us by UUA, and they have found that if we can go through this process, it will be much better in our likelihood of getting a minister whom we are very satisfied with and who we will be able to work with over a long period of time is much better. So that's the reason that we have an interim minister. I need to get a group together for that transition team, and I'm looking for volunteers. The qualifications are, we only have 5 people, five. We want those people to represent a cross-section of the congregation, young, old, tall, short, I don't know, whatever, a cross-section. And we want them to be people who are reasonably well plugged into the congregation. They should be able to tell Reverend Schwartz how the congregation works, how it gets things done, what its history is, and pretty much where it thinks it wants to move, so that she can help us to do those things. If you can be on that committee, I would like to hear from you. I can give you material that helps you define what that interim committee does. The appointments to the election for the ministerial search committee does not happen until later this year. So the first thing is to get this transition team together. I want them meeting and working together and have them through all of that awkward first steps before Reverend Schwartz arrives in August. So you see that there's some urgency here. As long as we're talking about this, the safety and security team needs some support. That team hasn't come together yet, and I need to pull that team together, and I need some more volunteers for it. This is not throwing your physical body in front of a shooter of some kind. That's not what it's about. What it is about is making the building safe for our congregation, safe for our children, and safe for our members. And also developing procedures and policies that help make us safe. This is a very large responsibility, and I need it done well. So if you want to be on safety and security with us, please give me a call. The next thing is, I have notes here. You're seeing my eyes go over those notes. This is my first podcast. You have to be kind to me on this. All right. I think that what I want to go to next is the committee on the lawn and grounds. We need weeders. We need waterers. And most of all, we need people to spread mulch. Iva King has ordered and had delivered a very large amount of mulch. It needs to go on the flower beds. It needs to make the place look nice. Nobody's there. Why does it need to look nice? Well, there's one thing. Allison is going to stay by the driveway, and we are going to parade by her, and that's pretty well fixed, and she knows about that. And I think that we want that building and grounds to look as nice as it can possibly look while we are doing that. So Iva needs help, and she needs help now. Give her a call. Speaking of awe and the Awe Fest, that festival is a secret, sort of. I mean, you know parts of it. We're going to meet with Allison. Some groups will meet out on the patio in very small, carefully separated groups. Some of them will meet with her online. Some of them may meet with her individually. We want to say goodbye. We want to say how much we have appreciated her 10 years with us, and wish her well in her retirement. As a matter of fact, I saw her retirement come up at the UU General Assembly as one of the ministers that was retiring this year. So more about that in just a moment. But first, you're going to get a lot of stuff on Office, right? Keep it secret. Don't blab it. It's not supposed to go to Allison, right? Some of this is she knows about, some of it she doesn't know about. So keep it quiet. Okay. Now, the next thing is, oh yes, pledging. We are actually in pretty good shape on pledges for last year, but there are a significant number that have not come in yet, but are probably on their way. If you have a pledge from 2019, 2020 that hasn't been finished, please get those checks to Shay, and Thrain would appreciate having them. He's our treasurer after all. You don't necessarily have to send a check. You can have your financial institution make the transfer to the church. When you do it online, as we do on Sunday, there is a fee for that. It's not a huge fee, but it's a fee. So if you can do it by check or through your financial institution, so much the better. And for next year, for 2020-21, and your pledge for that period, having it done through your financial institution is very convenient. I'll tell you, I always have liked putting the money in the collection plate, because that was somehow a signal that I was part of the congregation, that I was helping the congregation in its work, that I was paying the bills. So I miss not having the services and not having the ability to actually put it in the collection plate. But I have to tell you, I do have my financial institution send checks now, and mostly I just donate in the collection plate for the special requests that we have from time to time. So enough said about the finances, but please catch up on last year and get next year started well by arranging it so that it always comes out and you don't have to remember doing it anymore. Pledge reminders, lawn and garden, UU. I think I've covered everything except two very important birthdays. We have two birthdays, both fall on July the 8th, which is next Wednesday, I think. Yes, next Wednesday. One of those birthdays is Barb Leisner. And Barb is the person who has consistently provided the artwork for the order of worship that's handed out when we are in the church. We haven't been doing those lately, but if we were doing them, Barb would be doing them. So give her a card, a call, encouragement. This is for her a very significant birthday, but I will not tell you which one it is. You'll have to ask her. And another person having a very significant birthday, because it's her last one employed, is Allison Eskelson on the 8th of July. So also contact Allison. You can write her a card. In the card, you can tell her how important she's been to you over the last 10 years. And you can combine it with a happy retirement sentiment as well, saving yourself money, but not necessarily making Hallmark so much. Okay? This is the last podcast that I intend doing on my own. I feel as though the electronics keep the congregation from being together, and one way to get us together is for me to have guests from time to time. So next week, I'm going to have Lee Cornell join me, and we'll talk at least part of the time about the technology that we're using to basically broadcast our services, and what that involves, and what its future is as we cope with COVID-19 and the closure of the building. You have a wonderful 4th of July weekend and have a great week